Here we are again.
Yeah, this is just something that happens on a daily basis, isn't it, Lacey?
Before I begin, I want to send my love, my condolences, strength, and healing to the Isla Vista community.
Your disingenuous platitudes. Got it.
In college, I became friends with this guy. He was kind of lonely, he was good looking, a little bit socially awkward.
Oh wow, he sounds exactly like Elliott Rodger. What a coincidence.
He pursued me romantically, very aggressively, and when I told him that I wasn't interested, he became violent.
So why didn't you go to the police?
One morning, he spammed rape threats, my address, my phone number, all over my YouTube channel. He turned our mutual friends against me.
How? He's a violent psychopath who's stalking you. How is it your friends were like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to take his side?
He stalked me. I moved into my first apartment on my own. He used to leave me violent drawings, like a bloody knife through a heart. He'd always draw them on green Post-it notes and left them square in the middle of my door, as if to tell me that he was watching me. He terrorized me for years, all because I wouldn't date him.
Well, I tell you what, Lacey, that sounds like the absolute truth. I don't think you're lying at all there. I mean, this guy is only in violation of about 6 different laws, so I can tell that there was no reason for you to contact the police.
Sound familiar?
I know you want us to think it does, so you sound like an authority on this subject, which I really doubt you are.
The response to Elliott Rodger's massacre has widely focused on the fact that he's a psycho and a madman.
Because the world at large is not as demented as you are. He was a psycho and a madman.
Glossing over the fact that he uploaded a string of 20 videos where he repeatedly stated that the reason why he did this is because women wouldn't sleep with him.
Yes, and someone who goes on a killing spree because women won't sleep with them makes them a psycho and a madman, Lacey.
He said in plain language in his War on Women manifesto that had a woman slept with him, he never would have done this. Wouldn't even consider it. And yet all we hear is a sentence or two about how he was sexually frustrated and rejected by women. You want madness? That is madness!
Yes, which is why they're calling him a madman. That is exactly it, Lacey. He was mad.
There's a big conversation here that's being completely ignored. Whether or not he's mentally ill remains to be seen at this point, but that's not the end of the discussion.
No, it doesn't. You've just said, this is mad. He wrote a 140-page manifesto because he couldn't get laid, then went on a killing spree. He does not need a professional to classify him as mad. He is self-evidently mad.
There have been 71 mass murders in the US since 1982, and 70 of them were carried out by men.
Yes, so in a 32-year period, that's 2.25 a year, in a country of 300 million with hundreds of millions of guns. That's actually a really low figure compared to the number that could happen. It's not like it's happening on a fucking daily basis. But you know what, Lacey, I don't think that undermines your point at all. I think 1 a year is too many, because any number is too many. However, since mental health is something that you seem to be quite happy to write off, I mean, he was mad, but that's not enough. Of course that's enough. That means if people are going mad, they need help. They need treatment, not demonization, like what you're doing right now.
Most of those are white men.
Was that relevant?
This is not a coincidence. It's telling us something about our culture.
Well, specifically, it should be telling you something about white men, as in, they're going mad. Why are they going mad? I wonder if it's something to do with the concept of white privilege. I wonder if it's something to do with the concept of white people always being wrong, always being bad, especially white men. Like you're showing in this video, there is nothing a white man can get right. You have got this position where it's the reverse of being unfalsifiable. You know, it's irredeemable. This guy, there is nothing this guy could ever do right, because, you know, I mean, I don't even know if Elliott was a white man. I don't think he was. But in your example here, white men are always in the wrong. They can't ever do anything right. And when they are doing something right, they're still, well, okay, nice try, but you're still a white man, so you're still bad. Do you see the problem, Lacey? If people were saying this about white women, you would have a problem with it.
Elliott hated the fact that other men were having sex when he wasn't, and he ultimately killed him to prove that he was the true alpha male. Elliott also hung out on bodybuilding forums and pickup artist forums. Masculinity refers to the social expectation that anyone with a penis is raised with. Masculinity requires that men repress their emotions so that they don't appear weak.
No, masculinity is about controlling your emotions. Control over yourself. So something like this does not occur. It's not about repression. Repression is a bad thing. Control over oneself is a good thing. I don't expect you to understand, though. I do expect you to get it wrong.
They use women for sex, that they appear physically intimidating.
Masculinity, at least traditional masculinity, was ultimately enshrined in the concept of chivalry. Point out to me a time when chivalry has ever recommended you should use women as sex objects, and not done the exact opposite.
It also urges men to solve their problems and garner respect with aggression.
Aggression is a bit of a euphemistic term, isn't it, Lacey? Because if you saw this video, you'd probably be like, oh my god, he's so aggressive! But that doesn't mean I've hurt you in any way. It just means I'm putting my points forward quite stridently. Aggression, in and of itself, is not a bad thing when it is appropriate.
Now, before the massacre, both the social worker and his parents were like, something's wrong here. So they called in law enforcement, and the sheriff was like, well, he seems kind of timid and not very violent. Nothing to see here. Aside the fact that he was, posting his plans to slaughter his peers on YouTube. Nothing to see here.
Yeah? What were they supposed to do? Oh, well, you know what, we'll just arrest him for something he has not yet done, even though it doesn't appear that he's actually going to do anything. You don't even know what you're asking for.
The fact that Elliott was dismissed is partially because we've normalized this idea of violent masculinity.
No, it's not. It is in no way part of that. What it is that there didn't seem to be enough evidence from Elliott as a person to suggest he was actually going to commit a crime. See, the police still have to work on something called judgment and a presumption of innocence. I know you're against the idea, Lacey. I know you're in favour of witch trials. But frankly, I'm not, and I'm sure these policemen weren't either.
This stuff didn't raise enough red flags because the sheriff thought, hey, he's got a lot of aggressive feelings, just like any other guy. It's nothing to be concerned about. Now 6 innocent people are dead.
Yes, and this is where we reach the point where you are unable to identify the line between sane and insane.
The emasculation that Elliott Rodgers felt so deeply ultimately amounted in him following the manual written for boys. Don't be a pussy. Do what it takes to take back control. And that's exactly what he did.
Yes, but instead of internalizing it and improving himself, like a sane person would do, he did the insane thing and externalized it and went on a killing spree.
What happens when this toxic masculinity collides with entitlement?
You haven't proved that masculinity is toxic. You've proved that Elliott Rodger was insane.
A large part of mainstream masculinity is learning to see women as objects to have sex with them, to make them food, to date them, to do their laundry.
Really? Where is this mainstream masculinity being projected from then? Because it's certainly not from TV or movies where you've got the stupid feminist heroines who can just slay legions of guys and who are super empowered. It's not coming from academia where most of the students now are women and you openly have feminist courses and God knows how many feminist lecturers. It's not coming from the government where you've got feminists in power. Where is this coming from? Oh, it's not. That's the problem. This is coming from your stupid and outdated perception of reality. This is a fiction you have created to bolster your narrative, which is frankly just massively out of touch with how the world actually is.
Of course, is extremely misogynistic, but elements of that are all over our culture. Just last month, a girl in Connecticut turned down a guy for prom, so he decided to stab her repeatedly in the hallways of their high school.
Yes, mental health is certainly an issue in the United States.
A few years ago, a man shot 13 women in a Pittsburgh gym after vowing vengeance against females for refusing to provide him with sex and pleasure. Here we see, in the extreme, examples of men who think that women owe them sex.
Yes, mental health is an issue in the United States. Moreover, men's mental health is an issue. This is what feminism has wrought. A generation of men who do not know what to do, who are being demonized for what they are.
That it's their birthright or something.
Oh, so what you're saying is that there are absolutely men out there who don't deserve love, who don't deserve to find someone who makes them happy. Because I tell you what, I think that if we were reversing the genders here, you would absolutely say that every woman is definitely entitled to find a man who would make her feel like a special princess. Oh, but God forbid that a man thinks, what's wrong with me? Don't I deserve to find a woman? You know, this is the problem. It's the complete lack of fucking empathy. They are human beings too.
What happens when that angry, entitled man is armed with a gun, with a knife, with date rape drugs? Violence is one way that men attempt to maintain their power over women.
Clearly you haven't been listening to your own wittering nonsense, because you have established that these men have no power over women. You have established it by saying these men can't get laid, they can't get a date. No woman is interested in them, and they cannot compel any woman to be interested in them.
That is misogyny, but it's not always extreme like this either. Think about things like street harassment, catcalling, the verbal abuse that so many women put up with online, stalking, threats, intimidation, assault, rape, physical violence.
If I list a series of crimes, maybe you'll think that every man does them, because clearly I sure do.
Men who act this way feel entitled to women's bodies and to their time. They're so entitled, in fact, that many of them believe that this is a sign that we put women on a pedestal. Oh.
Feminism absolutely does, whether you want to believe it or not.
It's so wonderful not being seen as a full human being.
If you want to be seen as a full human being, Lacey, perhaps you should try seeing other people as full human beings, such as these guys that you're talking about, who clearly have severe mental health issues, and you're just saying, no, they're misogynists, they're evil, they're bad. They are not, they are insane. They are people who have had really bad experiences in this life, and you don't care.
And no, it's not all men who act this way, but you know what? It's way too many.
Which is ironic, considering that before your stupid social justice feminine bullshit, it didn't happen on this scale. It's crazy. This is a disease of the modern age. You are responsible for perpetuating it by disenfranchising these poor fucking guys who don't have any options left. When someone takes the option of absolute, insanely last resort, you have to wonder what kind of system is producing them. And I tell you what, Lacey, it is a fucking feminist system that's doing this.
Just look at all the terrible people posting their condolences and congratulations for a mass murderer on social media.
Alright, let's do this. And unlike you, having them whipped by so no one can actually read them and examine them, I'm going to take the time. I'm going to preface all of this by saying I don't believe violence against anyone is correct. Just so there is absolutely no confusion as to the idea of me endorsing these comments. Anyway, someone whose name you've blanked out for some reason has said, I'm glad he did what he did. Women are destroying society. Women need to be woken up to the fact that their actions cause men to go crazy. Women attack people psychologically as they cannot use physicality. The only way a man can fight back is physically. I applaud what this guy did, and I encourage more young men to take women's lives. It is the only way we can fight feminism. Women have declared war on us guys, we have to fight back. Well done, Rodger, what you did is the right thing to do. More women have to die. Right. Now, I don't think anyone has to die. I think that nobody has to die. That's the problem with ideologies as a whole. But why would this person say this in public to the whole world? Why would he say that, look, women are attacking men and men cannot fight back in the same way? You don't care, though. That's the thing. You don't care. You do not care that these guys are feeling this way. You have no compassion. Gifted says, advice for girls. Whenever a crazy-ass white guy asks for sex, you better drop them panties and take one for humanity. Oh, that's clearly a joke, you fucking dumbass. Volumes of Doom says, this wouldn't have happened if one of those stuck-up women gave him a chance. I'm praying for the family of those young lives who were lost. Real talk, he was a victim of the feminism complex out society had been poisoned with. Not only that, but he had obvious emotional/mental issues caused by bullying from Jock. Oh, these sound like terrible people, Lacey. Terrible. It's that you will label them as terrible people that makes me wonder, what do you think they should happen to them, Lacey? Do you think that maybe they should just be lined up and shot? You don't think there should be some compassion for their position? Sleeve Dagger says, man, only pussy has the kind of power to drive men insane. Spoon Tech says, thank you, Elliott, for putting those bitches in their place. I really appreciate your sacrifice. Rip Elliott Rodgers. Where did you get these? Do you think these represent men's opinions as a whole? Name Redacted, for some reason, says, and I feel really bad for him. Rejection is agony. Oh yeah, what a terrible fucking person. Empathizing with another human being on how bad it is to be rejected. Fucking disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. We all know that you don't think this man was a human being, Lacey, but the fact of the matter is he was. Enigma Hood says, I've been saying this for years. Every time you have a massacre from an introverted kid, this is the reason. Involuntary celibacy fucks with a man's mind. It's sad because no one gave a shit about him until he resorted to violence. Great kind of society we have here. No one cares about a man suffering until he starts killing people. Holy shit, that's actually a really fucking good point. Maybe you should have listened to him, Lacey. This is the point. This is exactly the point. Nobody cares. You don't care. You have labelled Enigma Hood a terrible person. That's fucking awful. That's such an awful thing to do. And do you know why you've done it? You've done it because he's trying to tell you something you don't understand. You are not a man. You cannot possibly know what drives a man has. And when someone tells you, you say, oh, he's a terrible person. Fuck you.
Let that sink in for a second.
Yeah, you can't sympathize. You can't empathize. You can't be compassionate. I want everyone to let that sink in for a moment.
Mainstream media jumps on the bandwagon and labels Elliott a lonely virgin, implying that sex is something women should provide. Men can't live without it.
No, implying that Elliott was just a normal young man with normal drives. That's the thing. They're not trying to dehumanize him. He was just a person. And in this case, he was a person with severe mental health problems. As if you think you have the fucking authority to say men can live without sex. I know better because I'm a little fucking airhead who knows all about men's drives.
That it's understandable that he might just lose it if he doesn't get his way.
Oh, get his way. Oh, right. Because people trying to fulfill their desires is them getting their way, and it's evil and disgusting and horrible, and it's directly something women should be afraid of. You are a vile propagandist, Lacey Green.
He wasn't just a lonely virgin. He wasn't just a magnet. He's an entitled misogynist with a gun. 4 guns, actually, and like 8 bajillion rounds of ammo.
And that means he is not even worthy of contempt, is it, Lacey? He's not a human being. He's not a person who had feelings and dreams and drives of his own. I don't even know what to tell you. There's something wrong with your mind when you cannot say, you know what, maybe this guy had mental issues and maybe he should have been given the treatment he needed.
Elliott is the monster that we as a culture, as a society, have created.
Yes! Yes! Yes, exactly! That is precisely the problem. In fact, that entire statement, I should have just skipped straight to the statement, really, to save everyone the hassle of having to sit through your annoying fucking face. You are going to term him as a monster, but he's not. He's a person. He was just a human being. There are no monsters. And yes, this society keeps creating them. So perhaps, maybe, we should try and address it before it gets to the shooting rampage. And I think the best way to do that is by not demonizing the people who are performing them, because there is something wrong with their minds. They have gone off the deep end. They don't know what to do. They are out of options. This seems sane to them. Therefore, maybe, just maybe, you need to start shutting the fuck up and listening to what these men are telling you. They are being dispossessed. They are being marginalized. They are being demonized in society, in popular culture, in the world, the Western world as a whole. There has to be room for masculinity. You cannot destroy it because it is, by and large, a part of almost every man.
His terrifying acts are not random, isolated occurrences. They're part of a serious cultural illness that affects all of us, especially women, every single day.
No, it affects especially men. You have proven it by saying, oh, out of 72 gun rampages, 71 of them were men. It is clearly affecting men more than women, you absolute fucknut. But no, this is the thing. This is your self-entitlement complex that women do have. It's always worse for the women. No, you've proven that it's not. You've proven that in this case, it is worse for the men.
And every person, every media outlet that gives him the madman stamp without any further discussion is a part of that problem.
No one cares. You're an idiot.
I think we need to be asking ourselves, why is it so hard to admit that misogyny actually kills people?
It's not, you fucking idiot. Any kind of hatred can lead to murder. That is the problem. The question you and all of your stupid fucking feminist cultists need to be asking is, why are these men becoming misogynists in the first place? What is this feminist-run society doing to them that is causing them to go insane?